Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Another episode apart, post addiction recovery and transitioning. It's great to see those beautiful faces again. Good to see everybody above ground. You know how it is. I'm always excited. Thank you again for giving me your ears and your eyes. Another opportunity to learn something new for myself, for yourself, to grow as individuals. That's all I ask for, is for everyone to grow as individuals. So today we're going to talk about how to get you back. How to get you back. So one thing I can tell you is that's a strong thing to get back to who you were. It's not an easy feat. It's something that takes time. It takes a lot of dedication, but it's not impossible. I promise you it's not. So you might be wondering, how do you get you back? So let's start with your everyday activities. So first and foremost, I did a little research to try to figure out, okay, addiction is extremely hard to get out of, according to some people. And I'm not going to say that it wasn't. Obviously, it was difficult for me as well. But it was really good when I did my research to actually have some backing to prove that it's not impossible. And the success rate is actually higher than what I expected. Like, I know we hear that, it's really difficult. It's really hard. And sometimes we plant that seed in our own thoughts. But man, it was really good to read some research that I read. So I got this research from statnews.com, and it says 75% of people seeking recovery from a substance use achieve their goal. 75%. So that's crazy, because if you look at it, it doesn't feel that way. If you are walking around this world and meeting people, you don't feel that way. You don't feel like it's 75%. Like you would be like, oh man, that's maybe 20, maybe 30. But that was crazy to read that. It also told me that in 2015, 22.3 million Americans have overcome an alcohol or other drug problem. That's 9%. Significant improvements in quality of life and decrease in psychological distress over time. Well, I can tell you that getting off of a substance, I can tell anyone that talks to me about it, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Best thing that ever happened to me. Just being able to wake up in the morning and think that I'm 20 something, but I'm not. But to jump up out of bed after 6 hours of sleep and have all the energy in the world, to smile through adversity, and to not automatically be like, oh, let me go get this drink because I'm pissed off now, or let me go get this drink because, my light bill due, or, I didn't need an excuse to drink, but baby, when it was a trigger, I used it. So it feels good to like get up in the morning and, just have this crazy energy that I never saw myself having at this stage in my life, because I felt like I was on, my downward end, even though I am still fairly young. And I think about that all the time. Like, my whole temperament is different. Like, I don't even get mad as much as I used to. Like, I was 0 to 60 in 0.27 seconds. I mean, it was wild. But now I laugh things off. I'm just like, okay. Road rage was one of my biggest things. Doesn't bother me anymore. I'm at peace. There's just so much tranquility in my life because of the fact that I got off a substance. And to me, that right there is resounding. That shows a lot. That showed me, it opened my eyes to the fact that substances can definitely just change your personality, change who you are. And I loved to tell people that I was the same person, whether I was sober or under the influence. Yeah, to an extent I was. My character wasn't much different. I know they say that you let go of all your inner inhibitions when you are drinking, and it's liquid courage. But one thing about me, I was the comedian when I was drinking. I was the one who wanted to make everyone laugh. I was the one who would buy everyone drinks. I wasn't the type that wanted to fight. I wasn't the type that wanted to argue. Now, my husband might say otherwise, but I really wasn't. Now, if I was in a great mood and you continued to keep me in that mood, or you didn't do anything to trigger me, then I was just fine. Now, adversely, if I was in a great mood and I had been drinking and you pissed me off, yeah, then you might see that other side of me. But for the most part, I just enjoyed making people laugh and putting smiles on faces. And that was just what I did. So, I never felt like it changed my personality, but in hindsight, it did somewhat. It really did. Like, there were times that I think that I would have been slow to anger had I not been under the influence. So I can admit to that. But just the personality shift in me, where I went from being okay with mediocrity or feeling okay with where I was in life to now writing down my goals, visualizing my goals, and making active movements to go after it, not just writing something down, but making active movements to go after it and be like, hey, you know what? I know I said I always wanted to do this, but I'm about to go out there and do it. And putting those steps in place, not just speaking, but putting action behind it. That's something that I can tell you honestly, during my substance abuse, that I didn't do that. I would never, I would always talk about what I wanted to do and, what I planned on doing with my life and my career and furthering myself. And I want to be a business owner, and I wanted to make sure I ran my own business. I wasn't going to work for anyone else by the age of 40. And all these things that I had, said that I wanted to do, but there was no action behind it. It was just a lot of talk. Well, I can tell you, being in sobriety, I've actually put actions behind it. Let's start with this podcast. I never would have imagined me starting out this podcast when I was drinking. Never, because I didn't have the unction to do it. There was no drive. There was no perseverance. There were, if I would have met the first obstacle, I would have dropped it. And I can tell you that in my substance abuse, I was thinking about doing a blog or a vlog. And I bought the website. I wrote down all these things and these plans, and I started. And I promise you, it probably lasted like a month. And I felt like I had something better to do with my time, which was alcohol. So it just made me sit on my talents and my gifts. And that was one thing that really struck me as I became sober. I said, man, like, I want to go out and do these things. I want to go out and help others. I want to do these things. Like, it was night and day. It was night and day. So I think about that often. I think about, all the things that I had planned on doing and all the things that I want to accomplish before I leave this earth. And now I have the drive to do it. I'm not afraid of failure. For a long time, and I know there's many of you like me out there that are afraid of failure. I didn't want to fall flat on my face. But some of the most successful and lucrative occupations and people out there are the ones who fell on their face multiple times. They failed at something multiple times, but they just never gave up. They never gave up. They kept fighting. Some, I've read that some actors or actresses and screenwriters and all kind of people have been homeless, living out of their cars. Sometimes you got to hit rock bottom to actually propel. It reminds me of a quote I read one time that said, even an arrow has to be pulled backwards in order to propel forward. And that stuck with me. I probably read that 2-3 years ago, but that stuck with me because sometimes we think that when we step backwards, that, oh, here we go. Here goes that adversity. Here goes those obstacles. It's just not meant for me to be any better than what I am. That is so far from the truth. So far from the truth. You are meant to be something. You have gifts, talents, something that you possess, whether you agree with me or not. Trust me, I've studied people for a long time. I've met thousands of people, and I see something in every person that's different that sometimes people don't see in themselves. And in myself included, there's things that people have seen in me that I didn't see in myself. And it took someone telling me, hey, do you know what you're capable of? For me to be like, wait, I'm capable of something, especially in the midst of my alcoholism. So that is first and foremost, realize that you all have some type of potential. You have something that you possess that the world wants. There's something about you that your friend doesn't have, your sister doesn't have, your mom doesn't have. There's something about you that's unique. And you just got to tap into that. So I think about that all the time with my sobriety is, man, starting over. And I recall trying to get me back. How the first thing I did when I quit drinking is I woke up the next day and I said, I want to start working out. So I started working out. Then I realized my diet. I said, well, if I'm going to work out, I got to look at my diet too. Can't do one without the other. So then I started to look into my diet, and not just looking into my diet. I did an in-depth look into my diet. Like, okay, some of them, they have these programs out there now where you can like take these tests to see what works with your body type, blood type, those type of things. And I'm not discouraging those. I've just never done those. But myself, I have an underactive thyroid. And a lot of women suffer from either overactive or underactive thyroids. And so I started researching with an underactive thyroid, how does that affect me? When I found out about my hypothyroidism, I was 24 years old, and the doctor gave me a pill and said, here's this pill. You take this pill once a day for the rest of your life. And this is supposed to replace the lack of hormone that you have in your thyroid. That's it. Well, fast forward, I don't know, like 13 years later, when I get sober, I said, you know what? Let me actually dive into this and see what kind of diet should I be following if I have hypothyroidism. And when I looked into it, and I looked at several websites, I didn't just, take one at its word. Multiple said the same few things, which were, hey, gluten is a no-go for you. Got to stay away from gluten. Stay away from dairy. Stay away from soy. Alcohol is a big thing that can affect your thyroid. Smoking is another thing. Go figure. I mean, the thyroid is in the throat. So what else do you think is affecting? So I really was like, okay, let me take dairy. Let me take gluten. Let me take soy out of my diet. Let me start to look at these things and see how it affects me. And when I tell you, I felt so much better. It was night and day. And I know that was coupled with me not drinking anymore. I felt like my skin reacted differently, my liver, my kidneys. I started looking up multivitamins that would be beneficial to like help support the liver and the kidneys, because hey, that's some of the biggest things that got damaged during my alcoholism. And I went and got a full blood workup. I went to the doctor and I was like, hey, check my liver, check my kidney. I want everything. I want to know, I want to make sure that, I didn't go too far in my alcoholism, that I've damaged it beyond repair. And, thank God it came back with a clean report. But I'm pretty sure if I would have kept going for a few more months, it wouldn't have come back that way. So I started digging into my diet, my body, my particular body, not something that, is a one fad diet for all these people. No, I looked into what works best for me. I started listening to my body. If I ate something and my stomach didn't agree with it, I didn't touch it anymore. I just didn't do it. So once I started to apply some of the knowledge that I gained to my life, things became a lot better for me. I started to gain me back. And with that little bit of traction and momentum, it allowed me to push myself in other areas. So I started to tap into my goals again. Okay, well, you always want to do this blog or you want to do a vlog. What now? And, that's when the podcast popped in my head. I said, okay, all right. So now let's work on the podcast. Let's do the podcast. And then when I started to dive into that and see the expenses and the things that it would cost, I was at peace with it. I said, man, this stuff can be expensive. This equipment can be expensive. But I said to myself, it's all worth it if I can help one person, just one person. It's all worth it. I don't even care. So that propelled me in that area. But then it made me start to question my career. I said, okay, I've been working at this job 19 years almost. I know this is not where I want to end up at. What do I want from my life? When I look back, when I'm in my older age and I look back at these days, what do I want to say to myself? I've accomplished these things. And I knew that job wasn't going to be for me anymore. Not to mention that a lot of my drinking buddies was working at that job. So I knew that I had to let that job go. So I let the job go. I moved on to something different. I worked for someone or a different place. It's another restaurant, but it's healthier food and it's more aligning with my lifestyle. So that was a big move. I know for a fact, if I would have continued drinking, that I would have never left the job that I was at because I was comfortable. It was good money. I had seniority. I could, work what I wanted to. I eventually was a Monday through Friday, only working during the daytime, off Saturday and Sunday, because I had earned it. I put in my work. But at the same time, I knew that wasn't the end all be all for me. I knew that. So being sober gave me that push in the back for me to realize, hey, you can do it. You can do whatever you put your heart to, whatever you desire. It's not going to be easy, but I promise you, if you continue to stay consistent and patient and persevere, it will pay off. And I'm a living testament to that. Now, am I where I want to be at this stage of my life? No, I am not. But am I in a better place than what I was 2.5 years ago? Absolutely. Like, huge difference, night and day. And due to me rewiring my way of thinking, I love to use that term because I literally had to rewire my way of thinking. Once I did that, my happiness grew. People saw it not just on the outside, but it beamed from inside to the outside. And that love spread to others. As I started to meet more people, and people wouldn't tell me right away that they were addicts, but I would find more people opened up to me. And then I would share a little bit about my story, and they felt like, wow, like I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one. And it's just night and day for me. It's night and day. And this is just the beginning. It's just the beginning for me. I'm just so excited about the possibilities of where I can go. And you should as well. You should as well. Just know that you can persevere. Like, it's not impossible. It's not impossible. So start with, looking at yourself. If you want to get you back, start with looking at yourself and saying, hey, what can I do differently? What have I wanted to do all this time, but I couldn't do it. I was in my own way. Financially, one of the things I wanted was a stable financial situation, better financial success. That's just what I wanted. I knew that I wanted to help people, but I didn't really know what my career path was going to be. And I'm talking about, this is after high school, after the little bit of college that I did take. I still couldn't put a finger on what I wanted to do. but I knew that my calling was to help other people. And to be honest with you, I still don't know exactly if it's a career path per se that I want to do. I just know that I want to help people. And if whatever direction that takes me in, I'm following it. I'm following it. And it's really important to me that I follow through with that goal. That was a goal that I've always had. So I encourage you to write down your goals, start tackling them. Like I said, I worked on my diet. I started exercising. I looked at my career. Look at your circle. If you want to get you back, look at your circle. It definitely starts there. And if there's any relationship that's unhealthy, whether it's a spouse, whether it's a friend, please let it go. Even though it may be difficult and you may not be able to see the light at the end of the tunnel, let it go. Because that is going to impede your progress as well. There's no way that you're going to get to your goals if you're allowing something to hold you back. You have to let go. And as much as I hate to say it, I always try to find the good in everyone that I meet. But sometimes, people don't always want to see the good in you. They don't want you to prosper. Some people don't want you to move forward. They want you to stay stagnant and in the same position they're in, so they feel comfortable about themselves. And it's really critical that you find a nice way to say, hey, you know what? I love you, but this ain't working. This is not working. I need something different. I had a really good friend of mine that they got really offended when I basically said to them, you drink and you smoke cigarettes and you smoke weed and your mentality is, a little bit jaded for me. And this person is 10 years older than me. So I had to tell them, I said, listen, I just don't think that you're right for me at this time in my life. And the first thing they said was, you changed. Now you looking down on me. And I said, no. And this is how you know that person doesn't need to be in your circle anymore. Because if they feel like it's about them and not about you and your well-being, then you already know the answer to your question. And I said to this person, do you care about me? Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So if you care about me and I'm telling you that as a recovering addict, I don't want to be around anyone else that's doing these things, what's the problem? If you care about me, then it should be like, oh, wow, you know what? I understand. I understand completely. Let me back off. And I never said I'll never want to see this person again. I said, I just need to get some strength, grow my legs underneath me, be able to be in the vicinity of someone. And that might take me years. I'm just keeping it real. Like, I didn't expect that to happen. I didn't expect to be able to be around people who drink 30 days or 60 days after my sobriety. I knew it was going to take some years. And even now, there's environments that I won't put myself in. I won't go to the ABC store. I won't go into a bar per se. I'll go into a bar if I'm picking up a to-go order. But even if if my order isn't ready, I wait in my car. I don't put myself in those situations. And that's what I think is really important, that if you do want to move forward with your life, please do not put yourself in the same situations you were already in. Don't put yourself in that, because you're setting yourself up for failure. And I think we try to straddle the fence and, want to be sober, but at the same time still hang with the same crew. That is impossible. That is impossible. And I'm the first to say don't say things are impossible. That's impossible. because it's just a matter of time. You might be strong for a minute, but it's just a matter of time before you fall susceptible to whatever that substance is, and because of the fact that you're around it. You have to be honest with yourself. I told myself, and I've said this in a couple of episodes, I will never be able to drink again. I will never be able to touch alcohol again. I will never be that person. I just can't. It clearly took a hold of me. It clearly was something that controlled me. I don't control it. It's stronger than I am. And I'm okay with admitting that. That was a hard pill for me to swallow, but I'm okay with admitting that. It's stronger than me. And so I can't do it. I can't. I refuse to. And I refresh my memory as much as possible with how I felt going through my alcoholism and how my body felt, how my bank account felt. And it helps me remain in the right lane. So I truly encourage you, if you want to get you back, start looking at you, start looking at your circle, your career, your goals. Make active movements. Make active movements. Even if it's a little bit a day, even if you exercise in 5-10 minutes a day, start building on the momentum. Next thing you know, you'll be working out 20 minutes a day. Don't discourage yourself. Encourage yourself with every little bit of progress. Progress matters. A little bit of progress turns into huge results eventually, whether it's a week from now or a year from now. They turn into huge results. And the next thing you know, you'll hold that beautiful head high. You'll look back and be like, wow, look what I accomplished. Look what I accomplished. You can do it. Don't let anyone discourage you. Remind yourself, reaffirm in yourself that you can do it. You can accomplish anything that you put your mind to. Again, it may not be easy, but you can do it with perseverance and consistency. I love you all. Thank you again for listening to me, and be blessed.